Hello everyone, welcome to my only stream of this week. So how you all doing? Hope you all doing alright. As you all remember, if you came from the last stream, we did not finish the campaign. There were only 2 missions left. Unfortunately, I need to end the stream because I had stuff to do. Right? I had stuff to do on that. Wait, the stream was on, oh yeah, I had to go to the doctor, yeah. I had to go to the doctor. Unfortunately, I did not have time to finish this. Yeah. So we back to the old grind from when I'm working, except with an exception. From now on, every time I'm prepared to make a video, while I don't have the video ready and I'm working it during a month, I will immediately drop the quantity of streams I have. And when the video is ready and almost ready to upload, I will do the opposite, increase the amount of streams before the video comes out, because if I do that, it increases the chances of the next stream or next video to do better. So what I might do is that usually it will be 2 streams a week. If I work on a video it takes more than 1 month, I will drop from 2 days per week 1 day. And when the video is ready, and in extreme cases I will straight up not stream on a day. The other thing is, when the video is ready to upload, the 2 weeks before, or even the 3 weeks before the video is going to be uploaded, I will slowly increase the amount of streams. For now, I will just do, for example, on the week before of the video come out, I will have 3 streams, for example. Then, on the week where the video is uploaded, usually on a Saturday, I will have 4 streams on that week. I might maybe like try 1 week to do 5, like uploading 6 times on a week in a row. It's an experimentation I'm running, and I have to do some editing work on my reaction live streams to make it into videos. But yeah, now we're gonna go back to the topic of the stream, which is the GLA campaign. So the last mission was that one of the islands with the toxic bunkers, the one which is a bit tricky to defend, and you have to slowly taking care of the USA base, and if you play on hard, having a hard time with the particle cannon. So now that all that is said and done, we still have to use the old method of using a specific sky beginning of the mission, so I can give you a look into what the cinematics are. So let's do that. All right.
A GLA splinter group has abandoned our cause.
The splinter
and joined
group.
the dragon to fight against us. This betrayal must be answered with righteous anger. Launch an assault on their convoys and sever the supply lines. then crush the traitors and their Chinese masters.
Wait, the Chinese are on this mission?
Quickly, get into position.
Kazakhstan.
Stand ready.
General, a group of traitors have abandoned the GLA cause. Our spies tell us they have made a deal with the Chinese to destroy us. The Chinese are giving them nukes to use against us. The convoy carrying the warheads is entering the area.
Stand ready.
We will ambush this convoy and use it to teach the world what happens to traitors.
Victory. The Chinese nukes are ours.
Move the convoy into the traitors' base, then detonate the trucks. Wipe them out, all of them. Their base is here.
Their base is here.
We have established this base here for your use, General.
Okay. No, from here we can use this. So this one,
I love a crowd.
Good hunting.
I love a crowd.
we have some cars we can
I am
use,
prepared.
which is a bit interesting.
I love a crowd.
I love a crowd.
Do not hurt me.
So, what's gonna happen is that you're going to be attacked from this front, this entire area, and you're going to be attacking on this side area. So, there you have it.
There's not enough room for that building.
I would recommend to use a bunch of these.
Fear us. We must have justice. They will fear us. I will work. I love driving cars. We must have justice.
We must have justice.
I will work.
This area is going to be attacked too, and that vehicle is over there not good enough for that. But yeah, you just need to increase the defenses. And I think there's some supplies in, or a supply base from theirs over here. You better deal with that.
I can't build there. I will run.
Try to cover this area with as many defenses as you can. Maybe use vehicle defense instead of
I'm just a peasant.
this.
This is hard work.
Of this.
I sense
Oh,
danger
and you can
in the air.
always see over here that they will do an attack.
Our forces have been discovered by the traitors. We must prepare for their attack.
Of course, send the nukes somewhere safe. That place is not safe because the Chinese will arrive again.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh yeah, I use all the things of the money because you're going to need it. Any extra money you can get.
Do not hurt me.
And so yeah,
Yes.
you defend yourself from the attacks. They're gonna attack. By this time I already have.
Okay, I will work. This hammer is.
Oh yeah, and build defenses back here because the Chinese will come in here with the supplies every now and then. I think it's three times they're gonna
A
come.
warrior has fallen.
Now more worry about defenses because if you have defenses over here, you basically are well defended. Alternatively, you can, as I said, you can use vehicles, which always better.
Some supplies.
Oh, there it
Could
is.
be useful.
There's supplies in here, and there's a radio tower. I don't know if that radio tower does something.
A warrior has fallen.
General, our land is being attacked.
Like this. Don't forget about that. Those supplies things. I'm hungry.
Have to be so far.
Oh, and the black. Oh no, the black market was already introduced on the last mission. So spam black market.
Upgrades all rebels to remain hidden from enemy sight when not shooting.
Oh yeah, and the camouflage that makes the rebels the main infantry guy
What do you want with
from GLA to be invisible when they're not shooting, which is extremely good because you can sneak them around.
We live in peace. This is hard work.
I think there's a slightly not like I say a bug, but there's some oddities with the terrain where these two vehicles together, this taxing tractor could be horrible for our defenses. Thank God it's hitting a building and not the building that has infantry as an attack, because that would have cleaned the defensive capabilities of this. Wow, this guy got stuck. And he captured that thing. Yeah. So, let me move to the... Because they're gonna make a bunch of attacks. There's nothing in particularly amazing about the attacks of GLA, of the traitors. It's more the Chinese you need to be worried about. They will arrive. 8-7, okay. And yeah, get these updates, all of them. This one you can skip if you want to. If you don't care about scouting. If you're nothing.
Chinese forces have entered the area. They must be searching for their convoy. Prepare for battle.
Ooh, kijk voor je infantry on this thing.
A warrior has fallen.
Yeah. We're gonna arrive with tank and everything. Get the money, get the stuff.
A warrior has fallen.
My soldiers are getting their own toxin because of the vehicles. I think I have toxic shells, which means there's a pool of toxic over there. Be careful, don't send them to a... Oh yeah, these vehicles can get modified heavily with the boxes the enemies left behind. You can literally give him 2 cannons. 6 minutes and a half. Whoa. This is a typical trick. Okay, but another. Just build a bunch of these so you can get money. Don't worry about it. Oh wow, this vehicle. This vehicle's not going to be here for long. There you go. No. I don't think I do any major moves until, because I always wait for the Chinese thing to go away. I wait for them to run out and then I attack the enemy bases. Because they're never going to say like a big strike. It's a bunch of guerrilla strikes. So if you have a tough defense system, you don't need to worry about it. I think the point I'm more worried about building the black markets so I get resources.
What do you want with me?
Am I speaking loud and clear? Yes, I am. What I was... So yeah, they're going to provoke some shit. Ignore that. Just let the defenses work. There you go. Let's move a little bit. Yeah. Oh.
A warrior has fallen.
Rocket buggies. Yeah. It's good for vehicles. So yeah. Moving forward a little bit. The next Chinese... Oh, I made a German Cal, okay. I will try to get one of the Chinese tanks. But I think there's a, like, because of the terrain, the infantry cannot attack from here, which is a bit weird.
A warrior has fallen. Chinese forces have entered the area. They must be searching
See,
for
he's going around instead of hitting it. There you go. It's going to be a bit bad. But we also have long-range vehicles.
A warrior has fallen.
Ooh, and the problem is that the artillery has like a flame effect, so yeah, there goes my infantry. Oh, there you go. No, don't destroy that. You can use that for us. Yep, they destroyed it. Well, waste. German Kel literally leaves the vehicle to be captured by us, and they destroy it. Now I said this. Yeah, pathfinding is such a weird thing. There you go, fully updated. I should have just moved this one first. There you go.
A warrior has fallen.
GLA has this really cool mechanic. There you go. Of stealing the leftovers of enemy vehicles. Okay, moving forward, there will be another Chinese attack. Maybe a major. There you go.
Four on the floor.
We have more buggy ammo now.
Our clan is strong.
A lot of work.
Find me a crash site.
And they will...
I will make my own path. I wait for you.
I wait for you. Oh, and the self-healing update of the vehicles is always useful. This is going to give you some advantages. You should probably build a bit more.
Chinese forces have entered the
Yeah.
area. They must be searching for their convoy. Prepare for battle. A warrior has fallen.
Yeah, you can just get rid of the artillery with just one of these attacks. Yeah, let's go. Wait, there's another one?
It
Well-
all works. Quad cannon.
Quad cannon.
We take what we need. Armor bolted in.
No.
Something for me? We fear nothing. What? Don't get on my bad side.
Oh, whoops.
What
Well,
do you
extra
want?
money is not bad.
Get in-
A warrior has fallen.
I said never gonna be a major attack, but the problem is because of the angles of the terrain, you can make your defenses not working.
Courage. Fast as I can. I will do my best.
A warrior has fallen.
We are the just ones. As
Yeah.
per request. Yes.
Alright, I think this one.
This road.
I think this one in particular
Scorpion, ready to sting.
must be something like
Chinese forces have entered the area. They must be searching for their convoy. Prepare for battle.
Target. I will display my dark.
A warrior has
Right.
fallen.
Oh wait, I think there's something in here a bit tough. Yeah, the Overlord tanks are here. They want to bring Overlord on this wave.
I own this road.
What the fuck?
A warrior has fallen.
Oh yeah, I was getting confused.
Scorpion, ready to sting.
For some reason this happens.
What's in it for me?
A German kill would be so interesting in this situation. You could capture one of these things.
Find me a parasite.
And with the Overlords, it's going to be the end of their run. So all you need to do now is increase your army. Oh yeah, they will do this trick. You can do the same thing. So if they do the same, just spawn a couple of these. I completely forget the objective of this mission is not to show the enemy be placed, it's to use the nukes that you capture, so
Our base is in.
use them, don't be
Must
shy.
careful. Scorpion, ready to sting. Watch for
So I'm basically trying to. There you go. Basically try to build up army, build up armors. Be careful.
A warrior has fallen. A warrior has fallen.
The crowd is the riot, the mob is really fucking weird.
I own this road. Ready for impact. Nothing will stop me. Nothing will stop me.
Yep.
Nothing will stop me. For my people.
A warrior has fallen.
For my people.
There is my target. There is my target.
Yeah, see, the rebel got invisible.
A warrior has fallen.
There you go. That goes down.
A warrior has fallen.
And just move up and deal with everything. If you have enough numbers, you don't need to worry about much.
No cost is too great.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh, and they eventually will quit, actually.
Take us to glory.
So just destroy the leftover building, the vehicles.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh yeah, this reinforcements from both sides, I think.
We will not be hindered.
A warrior has fallen.
One path to freedom. Our way.
Alright. There you go.
Prepare to fight.
Our work here is complete.
There you
Well
go.
done, Jay.
Yeah.
Order shall reign.
Now it's easy if you just use the nukes. Instead I always forget to use the nukes. But that's my problem. Okay, we're gonna get this ready. This is the GLA last mission. So from here we're going to use there. Oh, for fuck's sake. Na, da, 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 da. Okay. So let's go.
This is the battle we have dreaded and prayed for, my brother. We must take control of the Cosmodrome from the Chinese and the Americans. The missiles there will serve a feast of deadly toxin on our enemies and start the true liberation of the world. My general, this is our destiny.
Yeah, the last mission. Oh, you already have the particle cannon and the nuclear missile counter.
All personnel proceed to base 4 stations. Repeat, all personnel proceed to base 4 stations. Soyuz engine warm-up initiated. Temperature normal.
That is the vessel that will carry our message. They have prepared it for launch. We must strike swiftly if we are to capture it. Today, we will meet our destiny.
This one is going to also be a pain in the ass. Again, rush with this thing to get money from every kill. Get vehicles if you want to. I was a bit unsure because I never had played this mission very on brutal, not hard, brutal.
I will do what I must.
You're a bit isolated over here, and you're going to be attacked mainly by, I think it's by USA a lot. You're going to be mainly attacked by USA. Wait, yeah, cutscene appears out of nowhere. This building, you have to capture it, basically.
I will work.
But the thing is, it bugged out, right? It is bugged, right? Let me see if he...
Control facility.
there you go. Let's see what the guy said.
The ground control facility. We can use rebels to capture that building. We must capture the rocket so we can install the warhead.
So to finish this, you need to capture those two things. You need to capture the control center and the rocket. And I will finish the mission.
I will work. Building construction has been completed.
Oh yeah, there's an oil derrick behind the base. You can just capture it.
I will go. I will work. This hammer is heavy. Our work is complete.
First thing you can do, build a radar because you're gonna need it.
I will work. I will work. Ready for war. Be so far. Fight.
Somewhere in here there's the Chinese
Nothing
base.
Stop us.
Somewhere in here there's the USA. Or it's over here. Maybe it's over here. There's the USA base.
does it have to be so far?
Does it have to be so far? Does it trade? Ah, yeah, there you go.
You
USA
change
base
your
is over
mind
here.
often.
I don't think you use the.
This is hard work. I do what I am told. I will try to hurry.
Yes, trains can kill in this game.
No
Ah,
cost is too
I was
great.
trying to block all the entrance. Yeah.
We will not be oppressed.
Yes, I'm building the palace because the palace can be used as a bunker. I thought you can only build one palace, so
That was a
That
lot of
stronghold
work.
will
Do not
protect
hurt me. I will do the best I can.
beep. So expand over there.
We live in peace.
Anything else?
I'm gonna send German kill. Ah, a
New
refinery.
spotting position. Indeed. I will slip in.
Yeah, German kelp, since he's invisible, it could be good for
Work is complete.
scouting. There's the USA base. The USA is protecting the control center, and I think the Chinese is protecting the rocket itself. So yeah, that's the thing.
I'm hungry. Cannot we live in peace? Do not hurt me. That was a lot of work. I will obey. Ow! Okay, I will work.
Yeah, build a bunch of these. You can already build a super
This
weapon,
hammer
the scud store. Use it if you want to.
Yes. Are there not better tools?
Are not there better tools?
It is being attacked.
A
What the-
warrior has fallen.
Oh, snipers, yeah.
Positioning for launch site.
They're somewhere in there. So yeah, prepare for the snipers. The US is going to send snipers.
One must be preserved. Defend our homes. There they are. Get them now. Over there. They are getting close. The enemy may be near.
Enemy may be near.
Our base is under attack.
A warrior has fallen.
Run for shelter.
Our work is complete. I will obey.
Look at my beautiful weapon.
I heard them to attack around this area since this is technically tracks because I think they're over here.
Our homes are in peril.
A warrior has fallen.
Aha, there you go. I knew it. The snipers are over there.
High explosive warhead in place. Scud launcher poised to strike.
And if you start attacking the base, the counters will start to roll.
I'm just a peasant. What do you want with me? I will do what I must.
Particle cannon and nuclear bomb.
Our land is being
Ooh.
Look at my beautiful weapon. Ready to speak. Getting in range.
A warrior has fallen.
Send them running.
Yeah, and the Chinese will not be playing around. Oh, a lot of bombers.
A warrior has fallen.
This is gonna be a tough one. Yeah, this is a really tough first wave.
I am waiting. Who's the target? Lining them up.
Let's kick up some dirt.
A warrior has fallen.
Maybe
Warrior
using
has fallen.
German counters overload would be a smarter idea.
To the heavens.
Oh yeah, he's totally leveled up. Yeah.
General, a nuclear missile has been released.
Now the question is where it's gonna land.
Scud launcher poised to strike. Moving carefully.
The nuclear missile is not.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh yeah, one of the first attacks is hits the city for some reason.
General, our land is being attacked.
Look at my beautiful weapon. Without delay. Just close enough. Upgrade has been installed.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, be careful with these attacks over here from the Chinese.
Are in peril.
Oh,
A warrior has fallen.
they're trying to get in close.
Let us see what they are up
Kick up
to.
some dirt. Ready for
And there's still a couple of them snapping around.
building construction has been completed. Cannot we live in peace? I will try to hurry.
GLA radar services.
Send it to get closer. There it is. Oh, come on.
A warrior has fallen.
I will do my best.
Oh no.
Under attack.
Our will is strong.
Yeah, that was such a stupid idea.
We'll send them running. Positioning for launch cycle. Positioning for launch cycle. I'll puncture the next thing that moves.
Refining will decrease the price
I
for
will
each.
do the best I
Scud
can.
launcher poised to
Roads? How boring.
Ah, there's a bunker over here.
Let's kick up some dirt. Scorpion, ready to sting. Rocket barrage, ready. Construction has been completed.
A warrior has fallen.
look at my beautiful weapon. Getting in range. I'll puncture the next thing that moves.
There you go.
Building.
Oh yeah. Trying to run over.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh, did they destroy my long range vehicle? Maybe they did. Damn. Oh, the line field. Minefield. Oh, I'm already inside of their base. I think they don't have any major defenses.
A warrior
Mirage
has
their
fallen.
base. Yeah.
Look at my beautiful weapon.
Deal with the.
Getting in range.
Everything that we kill gives us points, so just
Shall I push the button? We'll send them running.
destroy the supply thing.
Scorpion, ready to sting. Moving carefully.
Yeah, the best is a lack of defenses. Destroy that so they don't have much money.
How glorious.
A warrior has fallen.
Yeah, I think I defend them. Yeah.
Toxin shells upgrade complete.
Their tragedy will come. Just close enough.
A warrior has fallen.
Oh yeah, there was snipers over there too. Jeez,
GLA radar services.
that was embarrassing.
Let's kick up some dirt. Scorpion, ready to sting.
Yeah, there will be snipers inside of the USA base.
Something for the masses.
Oh, there's a Chinese vehicle.
Scorpion, ready to sting.
Load the Scud. Be on watch for the enemy.
Load the scud.
A warrior has fallen.
Release the scud. I am waiting. I will slip in. I move in the shadows.
General, a nuclear missile has been released.
Scud launcher, poised to strike. Scorpion, ready for station.
A warrior has fallen.
Again, they will hit the city for some reason, I think.
Without delay. Positioning for launch cycle. Quick, ready yourself.
A warrior has fallen.
I need to close.
Oops. Yeah, against the Chinese, not a really good idea. Garrison red guards are a bit tough.
Something for the masses.
Now this is just a bunch of power plants.
What station you need, General?
Can destroy them so we can get more resources. Oh yeah, there's a snipers over here. The building we want to capture.
Launcher, poised to strike.
Light tank of the GLA. My own pad.
This is the other power plant.
All right, let's go.
A warrior has fallen.
Now, the reason I did not destroy that is because I want to capture the particle cannon so we can have an extra super weapon.
Of course.
A warrior has fallen.
Our base is in peril. Our work is okay, I will work. Ready to stay.
Quad cannon. I do not have patience for this.
Oh no, they do hit the nuclear bomb on close to the base, but just close enough. There you go. I spawned this, guys.
The higher order.
A warrior has fallen.
What is it? It is my duty. I will obey.
They're sending a dozer for some reason.
Ready for war. Ready for war.
There you go. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Those power plants plus you can capture that.
Let's kick up some ground march for the enemy.
No, I don't think this building does anything, but I capture it because sometimes some civilian buildings do things. There you go. There you go. It's ours.
A warrior has fallen.
And now we have energy, and GLA is a passive ability. If they get energy, they build faster.
We are march for the enemy. Ready to sting.
Now, if you take over this area, you just have the Chinese to be worried about. Ah, there is.
Puncture the next thing that moves.
What is it?
Puncture the next thing that moves.
Might be some
I
here.
wait for you. Scorpion, ready. Scorpion, ready to sting.
Puncture the next thing that moves.
Go.
Scorpion, expanding service area.
Now, the particle cannon is ready. There's an airfield over here.
General,
Just destroy it.
our enemy is using that particle cannon.
Oops, I made a mistake. I
Ready to sting.
misclick. No, it's not our enemy, it's using the particle cannon, it's us.
Ready to sting.
Maybe it was a waste, maybe we should have attacked the barracks.
What is it? Of course.
A warrior has fallen.
No, the Chinese never going to attack on this side for some reason. They're programmed not to do that, which is a bit weird.
The enemy. Rocket barrage ready.
A warrior has fallen.
And basically, you're gonna try to accumulate a huge force because you're going to need to.
A warrior has fallen.
Maybe provoke a bit of Chinese, just a little bit.
Leave them in the dust.
A warrior has fallen.
I am going.
A warrior has fallen.
There you go. Go.
General, a nuclear missile has been released. A warrior has fallen.
The amount of money we make by killing them all.
That's a good start.
No, they attacked somewhere on this move, but I don't remember where.
A warrior has fallen.
I will make my own.
Oh yeah, and their base is right over there.
What is it? Rocket barrage ready. What is it? I will make my own path.
I think this wave is not gonna work at all, and I get a bit confused because I have no idea where they did attack.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and I captured the dozer. Huh.
I built for China.
So let's fucking go.
That's a good choice.
We'll send them running.
Prepare to fight.
I think I sent this
warrior
guy
has
straight up.
fallen.
Oh yeah, this is just the rocket over here. There's nothing. You can just go ahead and capture it. It's not this side. Oh no, wait, the MiGs. Yeah, it's true. There's a couple of MiGs protecting.
Not be hindered. Nothing will stop us. They will be
Go after the bunkers.
A warrior has fallen.
Yep. Now you can just steal the fucking Chinese technology.
They must die. It will be taken care of.
A warrior has
Yeah.
fallen.
Can't hold it.
This hammer is.
Now I tried to build a new force. What did I send over here? Is this Scud Storm? No, I used the spy thing to see what the fuck is over there.
We have big plans.
Wait. Oh, I do a little save
I will help.
because it's been a while. It's almost an hour.
Yes. This hammer is heavy.
No, these guys are going to a suicide route against my army for some reason. Don't ask me why.
Building is complete.
And they have money inside, so awkward. Yep. So let's move over.
I've been waiting for this.
General, our land is being attacked.
A warrior has fallen.
Wow.
Running. Sweet ascension of doom.
Sweet ascension of doom.
I've been waiting for this.
Right.
General, a Scud storm has been launched.
Now that is use all the super weapons against the nuclear
General,
weapon.
our enemy is using their particle cannon.
Okay, 241. There you go.
Guarding the GLA underground. Okay, over there. Get them! Get them now!
A warrior has fallen.
Ha! There goes the defenses. Deal the base from this side. I don't think it's per se better, but you know. It has less defenses now, so.
Watch your step.
Well, these vehicles were
A warrior has fallen.
kind of abandoned, so. Oh, they have soldiers inside. They take just a bit to bring the soldiers to the battle.
Get them! Get them now! Stay close to safety. Don't let them get away.
Oh, yeah, I use a tractor, that's true.
Over there. Quick, ready yourself. Defend
A warrior has fallen.
Guarding the GLA underground. Land must be preserved.
There you go.
The enemy may be near.
Now, this is just power plants, so they can
Guarding the
destroy them
GLA
all.
underground. Stay close to safety.
Ooh, there's a powerful guy in here.
Danger may be near.
A warrior has fallen.
You must be careful.
A warrior has fallen.
Le warrior has fallen.
My beautiful weapon. Devastation on its way.
This is a long range, as I showed on our last. There you go.
Guarding the GLA underground.
And the path is clear.
Enemy may be
All you
near.
need to do is capture the things.
We must take
So over
what
here,
is
I capture
ours.
this.
We will not be
Over
oppressed.
here, you do the same. We capture
We
the
must acquire new land.
the launcher. There they are.
The building belongs to us now. The tragedy has come.
Go. And you capture that thing.
Building belongs to
There you
us
go.
now. Baikonur is ours.
This day will be a glorious one.
Well, now they have it. We see the show. In a random city. We spread the toxin. We spread anthrax everywhere. And this is the end of the GLA campaign. As you can see, it's what can be called a wacky group, but it's clear we can clearly see what they're based on. They're not hiding anywhere. So we are going to watch the video that explains better this faction. And god damn it, there's some wacky publicity. Get rid of it. There you go. Now from here, you can go over here. Wait, no. And here we go. Just a second, let me check something quickly. Okay.
Welcome back, General. In this video, I'll be providing you with an in-depth look at the faction known as the Global Liberation Army, or GLA for short.
There you go.
This will include the origins of the organization, the strategies and tactics that they used, and the faction's arsenal, including their structures, weapons, vehicles, and infantry roles. This will be a long video, presenting a lot of information, so I'd recommend grabbing yourself a drink and a snack before starting. And feel free to pause the video anytime if you feel you need to take a break. There's a lot to go through, so let's get started.
So I'm gonna do like this.
We don't know exactly when the organization known as the Global Liberation Army.
Just a second. Let me just change a little something.
Was formed. The earliest date on record comes from the dossier regarding the GLA's most infamous general, Dr. Thrax. Quoting from the dossier, little is known about the GLA associate codenamed Dr. Thrax. While background intelligence indicates that he received training as an immunologist in Jordan, he left academics in 1995 and disappeared into a GLA-controlled ghetto in Cairo. So we know that a GLA cell was present in Cairo, Egypt in the year 1995. However, this does not necessarily mean that Egypt is the origin point of the organization, or that it had not had other cells established in other parts of the world before 1995. The next bit of information I'll be presenting is mostly speculation on my part, based on other events that occurred before the official outbreak of the war against the GLA, so some of it could be open to further interpretation or critique. The roots of the organization began somewhere in the countries of Central Asia. I believe that the GLA initially formed around the year 1988, near the end of the Soviet-Afghan War. At that time, the organization was responsible for recruiting and training people from various parts of the Middle East in order to combat and expel the Soviet military in Afghanistan. When the Soviet Union withdrew from the conflict in 1989, the GLA leaders then looked to expand the organization, both in its purpose and in a literal sense. While the organization was initially set up to counter Soviet influence and aggression in Afghanistan, it expanded this goal to counter all foreign influence, not just in Afghanistan, but the entire Middle East and Central Asia. This expanded goal meant that the GLA began to establish hidden cells in various countries. The 1991 Gulf War led by US and coalition forces only served to reinforce and perhaps even radicalize the GLA's ideological cause. While the GLA may not have supported the actions of the Iraqi government that triggered the war, they also didn't support the US and its coalition forces intervening in such matters. Further compounding the issue was the USA's establishment of an increased military presence in some of the Middle East countries that it already had influence over, such as Operation Southern Watch in Saudi Arabia. This would lead the GLA to carry out much of the international terrorist attacks that took place throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. At the turn of the 20th century, in an attempt to root out and destroy GLA-controlled cells, the USA ramped up counter-terrorist initiatives in the Middle East. While these smaller conflicts may have hampered GLA operations in parts of the Middle East, it only helped to draw more support for the organization and its cause. So much so, that it was able to build up and maintain a stronghold in Central Asia, particularly in the countries of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. More specifically, both Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan were merged and renamed to Aldistan by the GLA. This is according to recorded briefings that occurred before and during PLA military operations in the region during the war. Bishkek, the former capital city of Kyrgyzstan, was considered the sub-capital of the now GLA-formed country of Aldistan. The capital of Aldistan was the city of Dushanbe, the former capital of Tajikistan. In order to build up more support for its cause, the GLA would send envoys into Western China in an attempt to establish an independent state in this remote region. However, this would only serve to agitate the Beijing government, and ultimately culminate in a war, which saw the USA and China cooperating to destroy the GLA once and for all. It's important to note that the GLA did not have full control over Kazakhstan before the war. Once China had successfully pushed the GLA out of Aldistan, it would regroup its forces in Kazakhstan, eventually pushing both PLA and US military forces out of the country. Afterwards, Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan, became the new capital of the GLA, and was renamed Akmola. One of the unique aspects of the GLA was that they didn't have a single leader that unified the organization, at least not initially. It can be best described as a loosely aligned worldwide network of terror, one that was made up and run by several warlords and rogue generals of the Middle East, who would create and execute their own plans to engage and defeat their enemies. The organization was split into various cells, with each one operating semi-autonomously. For example, Prince Qassad was the leader of the cell entitled Cobra, which operated in regions of North Africa. Qassad himself was a man that specialized in camouflage and ambush tactics. To quote from his dossier, "This charismatic tribal leader has organized spies and assassins across North Africa to do his bidding. Prince Qassad has been paid millions for assassinations, hijackings, and beatings in the street. For a 3-year stretch beginning in 2008, it is believed that no terrorist action was taken on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea without his involvement or blessing." Another figurehead within the GLA was General Radal Jazi, an explosives expert who operated the
This is the
Scorpion
generals
Cell,
from the
which was
expansion.
located somewhere in northwestern Iran, close to the Caspian Sea. Dr. Thrax was not affiliated with any cell that we are aware of. This could be due to his significance within the organization, or perhaps he often transferred from one cell to another, never permanently settling down into any specific one. This disconnected structure meant that even if one of the GLA's important leaders died, the organization would continue to function, making it difficult to fully destroy. The USA would come close to the end of the first major conflict against the organization, when they assaulted the GLA capital of Akmola in Kazakhstan, killing many of its vital commanders. This caused the GLA to be disorganized for a short time, but eventually it reunited under a single leader, one with a clear vision for defeating their enemies. The organization knew that it couldn't take on technologically advanced nations like the United States in a straight-up fight, nor did it have the manpower and equipment to overwhelm the People's Republic of China. The CNC General's Manual actually gives a good description of the GLA's overall military strategy. Information has begun to trickle in about the organization and strategies of the Global Liberation Army. A loosely aligned worldwide network of terror, the GLA prizes speed over destructive force. Relying heavily on the dedication of fanatics, the GLA sends soldiers into the teeth of its enemies and always has an escape route for its hardcore veterans. Built to hit and run, the GLA is poorly suited for direct large-scale battles. Generals of the GLA seek advantages in the terrain. Without the official backing of any national government, the GLA has become expert in making do with whatever is at hand. GLA units have been known to scavenge resources from the field of battle. Through its network of tunnels, GLA forces can appear at locations all over the map. If they are successful in defeating their enemies, GLA units earn money from the cause's unknown backers. The GLA fighting units tend to be lightweight and low cost. The most effective of them self-destruct, making a sustained campaign against enemy forces difficult for the GLA to maintain. The GLA has become expert in acquiring dated weapons from the Soviet era. Through arms dealers in the black market, it can assemble squads of tanks and technicals, which, when rapidly deployed, can put a dagger through unsuspecting enemy defenses.
Indeed.
A couple of key missions that showcase the faction's strategy during the 2 major conflicts against them was Operation Black Rain and On the Waterfront.
This
In
one
Operation
the
Black Rain,
the expansion.
GLA forces
This was
attacked
the first
Chinese
GLA
base by
mission.
distracting its
You
guards
saw it on the
using
last
fast
last stream.
technicals. While the Chinese troops were distracted, bomb trucks rolled into the base destroying vital structures, and leaving the rest to be cleaned up by their light vehicles. The small force would then regroup and rearm at a nearby base before launching an attack on a nearby dam. By destroying this dam, they were able to flood the valley and drown all other PLA forces along the banks of the river.
Behold, doom has come to our enemies. Like a tide, we shall sweep over them and drown them in their own greed and evil.
During the 0-hour phase of the war, the GLA tasked one of their commanders with a mission called On the Waterfront. This mission involved the theft of a US particle cannon to be used against its own Mediterranean fleet. The GLA employed hijackers, quad cannons, and tunnel networks to complete the mission. The hijackers would, well, hijack US vehicles, which were usually better armed and armored compared to the GLA's. The quad cannons would make sure that no aircraft or helicopters could fly over the islands without the risk of being shot down. The tunnel networks allowed the GLA commander to move his forces from one island to the next, ambushing and taking out the rest of the US military forces on the islands. By now, the captured particle cannon was fully powered and charged, and the GLA used it to destroy the nearby US carrier.
Ooh. There goes the carrier.
These two missions prove that the biggest mistake one can make against the GLA is to underestimate them. The GLA may not have the most powerful weapons, or quantities of them at their disposal, but they can certainly plan their way around such systems with more flexible tactics, or just outright steal said weapons so that they can be used against their enemies.
Sneaky quick
Now,
thieves.
General,
That's
it's
what
time to go
GLA
over the
is.
various structures, infantry, vehicles, and other weapon systems that
Oh,
the
there we
GLA
go.
used to wage war against the USA and PLA forces. Though the GLA did not have advanced high-tech weapon systems, their arsenal was quite varied, especially since the GLA would capture any weapons and equipment they could use to further their cause. Of course, the GLA made use of structures and other buildings to train troops, build vehicles, and purchase other supplies and equipment. In a large city, GLA structures tend to blend into the community around them. Hoping that they go unnoticed, GLA generals have chosen not to fortify their structures, knowing that new ones can be erected quickly and cheaply in a new location. There are a couple more things that separate the GLA structures from those used by the US and PLA. The first was that none of them needed power plants in order to keep the buildings functioning. The second was that when destroyed, the structures would leave behind an escape hole. This hole can be seen amongst the ruins of the building. If the hole itself is not properly destroyed, then a worker would emerge from it when he thinks there are no enemy forces nearby. The worker would begin immediately rebuilding the destroyed structure, allowing the GLA to quickly re-establish operations in the area.
Yep,
The first and most vital of the GLA structures was the command center.
obviously.
This was a single square building with a large dome on top. It was surrounded by walls on all sides, with one opening that acts as the entrance. In addition, there are 4 guard towers at the corners, with one of the towers having what looks to be a radio beacon on top of it. The command center is where the GLA commanders would plan and coordinate their forces, as well as the place where they would recruit and train workers. The radio beacon allowed the commander to call in reinforcements or other forms of support from outside their local area, such as camouflage rebels to ambush unsuspecting enemy units, or a plane to drop an anthrax bomb on a targeted location.
Yes, they had a plane. Okay, one plane. GLA.
The second structure was the supply stash.
Yep.
It had a main building where the GLA would recruit
It
and
operates
train
quite
workers
similar
and a
to
shed
the
next to a
command
storage
center in
tank.
some ways.
It also had a small hut with a dome on top, which might have acted as a guard post. These structures were partially surrounded by a wall. As the name implies, this structure, or set of structures, acted as the main storage for collected supplies. Workers would go back and forth, picking up supplies from a dock or
Workers? You mean
elsewhere,
slaves?
and dropping them off at the stash. From here, the supplies would be processed and either put to use for the GLA, or sold in order to generate funds.
Wait, they're workers or they're slaves? Okay.
The third structure was the barracks. Not so much a structure, but more like a small compound. It was surrounded by a wall with one entrance. The main structure is in the middle of it, recognizable by the small dome on top.
A lot of
There are
domes.
3 other smaller buildings in each corner of the compound. A few crates under a canopy at the 4th corner indicate that these huts may have been used to store additional small arms weapons and equipment. The barracks was where all infantry of the GLA were recruited and trained. This included the rebel, RPG trooper, terrorist, angry mob, saboteur, hijacker, and Jarman Kale. Rebel infantry would get the most out of being trained at the barracks, learning how to capture neutral tech or enemy buildings, as well as how to booby-trap neutral structures, or even their own buildings. The 4th structure was the arms dealer. When the GLA needs vehicles, it comes here. The local arms dealer can acquire or build fine weapons from all over the world. There are 3 structures here. First, the garage in the middle, which is where the GLA acquire or build their own vehicles. Second, a smaller structure at the entrance, which seems to be a guard outpost. And third, another building next to the garage, which may act as storage for vehicle parts. At the entrance to the arms dealer is a showcase of weapons on display under a metal canopy. The arms dealer provides the GLA with technicals, radar vans, scorpion tanks, quad cannons, toxin tractors, combat cycles, marauder tanks, rocket buggies, bomb trucks, battle buses, and scud launchers.
Yep.
The arms
Loads
dealer
of
can
vehicles.
even outfit the scorpion tanks with custom-made scorpion rockets for extra firepower. The 5th structure was the palace, the source of secrets for the GLA. It had one large square-shaped building in the middle with a dome on top, and 2 smaller square buildings on each side. A fountain is located in front of the main building. A wall surrounds the structures, except at the entrance, which has 2 guard posts topped with domes. The palace held various secrets, plans, and research documents for the GLA. Therefore, it was almost always better guarded compared to other structures. It was typically garrisoned with troops, practically turning it into a small fortress. This made the structure virtually impossible to capture by enemy forces, making it necessary to simply destroy the entire palace. The palace could be fortified with barbed wire, wooden planks, and sandbags. These fortifications could be applied to the GLA's other non-defensive structures too, including the fake ones, increasing their armor. Some of the research the GLA conducted
Yes,
in
one of the
Japan
sub-factions
included
of
upgrading
GLA
their
can
rebel
create
troops
fake
with camouflage,
buildings.
developing special toxin shells to equip some of their vehicles with, arming mobs with AK-47 rifles, and improving the effectiveness of their bioweapons with the development of Anthrax Beta. The sixth structure was the black market. The GLA knows how to use the shifting hidden markets of the world. Through its black market, the GLA can acquire hard-to-find ammunition and technologies. Additionally, through its activities in the market, the GLA can earn a small yet steady income. The black market was most recognizable thanks to the tower in the middle of it. A couple of smaller buildings and market stalls surround the tower. While the market seems innocent on the outside, on the inside, illegal transactions are constantly taking place. In this way, the GLA acquires extra weapons and equipment they can use to fight their enemies.
Yeah.
Some of these weapons were armor-piercing bullets and rockets, which allowed the GLA to do more damage when using bullet or rocket-based weapon systems. They could purchase buggy ammo, which increases the ammo capacity of their rocket buggies.
Get more
They can even
missiles.
purchase upgraded radar equipment for their radar vans, allowing them to conduct scans in a particular area. Shoes for their workers can also be purchased here, which let them efficiently gather more supplies.
So they're working on
Sometimes the
flavor.
GLA just purchased junk from the market, which would be given to their vehicle crews. The crews used the extra scrap to make quick repairs to their vehicles. Even if the GLA did not make any major purchases at the market, they were still able to maintain a steady flow of income from other transactions taking place at it, about $20 American worth per second. Although the GLA's primary structures were designed to blend into the surrounding community, it was still important to have defensive structures located nearby for protection. The first of these was the Stinger site. To protect its bases against aerial bombardment, the GLA uses shoulder-launched Stinger missiles. Behind the barricade of sandbags at each Stinger site, 3 soldiers can target inbound aircraft. When one soldier drops, the other 2 keep fighting until a replacement arrives. The Stinger site was typically made up of a circle of sandbags with a camouflage net above it. Boxes of ammunition were kept in the middle. The name Stinger comes from the launcher, the FIM-92 Stinger, a man-portable air defense system, an American weapon, probably obtained from the Soviet-Afghan War years ago. Though the Stinger was designed for use against aircraft and not ground targets, the 3-man team could use their missiles to target and destroy ground forces too. The Stinger sites could also make use of armor-piercing rockets that were purchased at the black market. However, the site would be pretty useless if all 3 soldiers stationed there were killed, and the GLA had no way to reinforce it.
Yeah.
The site could be upgraded with extra camo netting, which made it harder to see or detect by enemy forces. The GLA made use of extensive tunnel network systems.
Oh yeah, then
The entrances
tunnels.
to these tunnels could be built almost anywhere, recognizable only by the sandbags and crates seen around them, and the machine gun turret placed right above it. There were typically 2 RPG troopers guarding the entrances as well.
Yeah, they
The tunnel
spawn
network
when you
entrance
build
could
them.
be upgraded with camo netting, which camouflaged it from enemy forces. These tunnels
Sorry.
allowed the GLA to hide their forces underground or in the mountains. That way, they did not have to worry about being attacked out in the open, especially by aircraft. While inside, their forces could use the underground network to rapidly move from one location to another.
Ta-da.
Vehicles inside the tunnels could be repaired, and
Oh,
infantry could receive medical attention.
That I
The
didn't
tunnels
know.
were not totally immune from attacks by hostile forces, though. Aircraft equipped with bunker buster bombs could clear out units inside of them.
Oh
In
yeah.
addition, if all the tunnel entrances in a region were destroyed, then any units that were inside of them would be buried underground. Although most tunnel entrances were created by workers starting from the surface of the Earth, some were made by workers digging up to the surface from underground. 5-star GLA generals use this tactic to perform a sneak attack in the middle of an enemy base, or to reach a location, such as an island, without crossing a bridge. It took a few moments for the tunnel entrance to be fully prepared and opened after reaching the surface, time that an enemy general could use to destroy the entrance before GLA forces had a chance to exit the tunnel.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Another simpler defensive weapon that the GLA used were demo traps.
Oh yeah.
The demo trap was basically an IED, one that had the option to either be manually detonated using a remote device, or had a proximity fuse. The proximity fuse caused it to automatically detonate whenever an enemy unit got too close. The trap typically came in the form of a barrel, which was filled with fuel, and had explosives attached to the outside of it. These traps were buried
TNT.
just below the surface of the Earth, and were useful for slowing down and delaying enemy forces attempting to make advances in a region. They were best placed along key road routes, or vital choke points. One would know when the trap was triggered by the distinctive beeping sound it made, right before exploding.
Kaboom.
Cautious enemy forces could detect the traps and either destroy the explosives directly by firing on them, or use a bulldozer or other worker to dig up the traps and attempt to disarm them. One of the most powerful weapon systems in the GLA arsenal, the Scud Storm, was a super weapon that would launch 9 Scud missiles at a targeted location. Each missile carried an anthrax-derived toxin that would poison the air in the vicinity where the missile landed. This also meant that the missiles did not need to accurately land on the target to do significant damage. Once constructed, the launcher's missiles needed to be filled with fuel and toxin. In the middle of the launcher system is a tank where the toxin is held. 3 other buildings can be seen against a wall at the back of the launcher system. One seems to be a radar or weather station, and another looks to be a bunker that personnel use to view the launch from. The system takes about 15 seconds to launch its entire payload. Whatever mechanism the GLA uses to activate the launch sequence requires that all 9 scuds be launched at once. If the launcher is destroyed before launching all its missiles, then only the number that was launched will land at the target location. So if only 2 scuds are able to fire off before the launcher is destroyed,
And Anorak, the most powerful super weapon in the game.
It took the Scud Storm some time to be rearmed before launching again. The launch mechanisms would be taken underground, then re-emerge equipped with the new salvo of Scud missiles. The missiles can be filled with a more potent variant of toxin called Anthrax Beta, which was represented by a blue cloud instead of a green one. Another defensive tactic employed by the GLA was the use of fake structures. As the name implies, these were decoy versions of the command center, supply cache, barracks, arms dealer, and black market. They matched the real versions of these structures in their appearance, but had no function whatsoever. If needed, the GLA could convert one of these decoys into a real one, assuming they had the money to make that conversion. Alternatively, the decoys were equipped with explosives that could be remotely detonated if enemy forces got too close to them. One way to tell if a structure was fake was the amount of damage that it could take before it was destroyed. Since decoys were not built with as strong materials as the real versions they mimicked, they were destroyed faster and did not leave behind a GLA hole. For the GLA's infantry, they had various roles to fill for those who wished to fight on behalf of the organization. All infantry units were trained to pick up salvage from wrecked vehicles. This salvage would usually be sold for additional funds, or the soldier that picked it up would receive a promotion for doing so. Infantry units were even trained to drive combat cycles. Some members were not as willing to fight for the GLA's cause compared to others. These members were simply called the workers.
I will work.
One of the most important roles, yet the least well treated, the worker was tasked with gathering supplies from supply docks or elsewhere, and delivering them to the stash for processing. They also had the vital task of constructing and repairing the GLA's buildings. Some workers would take cover in a hole beneath a structure. That way, if it was destroyed, the worker could emerge from the manhole and rebuild it. The worker was also tasked with setting up demo traps against enemy forces. In addition, they were given metal detectors to find mines or other explosives to dig up from the earth. If a GLA general wanted to increase the efficiency of his workers, he could purchase shoes for them at the black market. These shoes allowed the workers to not only move faster, but also increase the rate at which they constructed buildings and gathered supplies. One worker would normally only carry about $75 worth of supplies, but with shoes, he could carry about $83 worth. The issue with workers, however, is that other than a pickaxe or hammer, they are completely defenseless and could be killed quite easily. To protect them, the GLA had a standard rifleman-type soldier, simply known as the Rebel.
Ready for war!
Ready for
The GLA Rebel has more spirit than training or equipment. The basic unit of infantry for the GLA carries a simple rifle. While Rebels did not have the extensive training of other basic infantrymen such as the USA's Rangers or China's Red Guard, they were cheap to recruit and arm, typically carrying an AK-47 rifle. The Rebels could garrison civilian structures to give themselves extra protection against attacking enemy forces. The Rebels could even be given extra training and explosives. The extra training allowed them to capture neutral tech buildings such as oil derricks or even enemy base buildings. The extra explosives could be used to booby-trap these neutral buildings, or their own. Rebels could be equipped with camouflage uniforms from the palace, assuming the local GLA general had the money to purchase them. When wearing these camouflage uniforms, the Rebels would be hidden, as long as they were standing still and not firing their weapons, which allowed them to set up ambushes on unsuspecting enemies. A 3-star GLA general could even request a group of rebels outside the battlefield to sneak onto it and ambush enemy forces, or even infiltrate an enemy base. This tactic was represented by a support power called Ambush. The number of rebels that would show up to the ambush depended on its rank. With rank 1, only 4 rebels would appear. At rank 2, 8 would appear. And at rank 3, 16 would appear. Lastly, if a GLA general purchased armor-piercing bullets at a black market, then he could pass this type of ammo out to his rebel infantry. This ammo granted them an increase in their weapons' firepower, which allowed them to be more effective against enemy infantry, and even light vehicles such as supply trucks. Even with armor-piercing bullets, the rebel, like most basic infantry, could not properly take on armored vehicles, such as tanks or aircraft. The role of anti-armor operations was designated to the RPG Trooper.
Guarding the GLA underground!
As its name suggests, the RPG Trooper carried an RPG-7, a shoulder-mounted rocket-propelled grenade launcher. The Trooper could use this weapon against both ground vehicles and aircraft. Just like the rebels, the RPG troopers could garrison civilian buildings to better defend themselves from attacks, or lock down a strategic location.
Yeah.
2 RPG troopers would show up to guard the entrance of a tunnel network right after its construction was complete.
Yeah,
A
free.
GLA general could increase the firepower of his troopers by purchasing anti-tank rockets for them at the black market. If a GLA general wanted a soldier packed with more explosive power than an RPG trooper, they would recruit a terrorist.
I am prepared.
The most fanatical members of the GLA, willing to give up their lives for the cause. Strapped with several kilos of C4, these suicide bombers could destroy a tank in one blast, or cause heavy damage to civilian or military structures. They could trade places with a rebel on a combat cycle, thereby allowing them to quickly speed past defenses and hit a target before the enemy could stop them. If no combat cycles were around, the terrorist could always acquire a civilian car or truck, making a car bomb. Not only was the car faster than simply running, it also created a slightly bigger explosion. Terrorists were not the only ones who could make use of vehicles, though. The GLA would sometimes recruit specialists who knew how to acquire more than just a simple car or truck. This specialist was called the hijacker.
Let's go car shopping.
Let's go
These
car shopping.
daring thieves have been recruited to steal vehicles for the GLA. When he is idle, the hijacker blends invisibly into the crowd. When he is directed to attack, he jumps into a vehicle, kills the driver, and takes control of the wheel. Able to take out not only the driver, but the entire crew, the hijackers were experts at stealing light and heavy armored ground vehicles. After taking the driver's seat, they would have other GLA troops come in to help operate the stolen vehicle. The hijacker was only able to blend in with the crowd or hide from plain sight when they were standing idle. Once they made a run for a vehicle, they could be spotted and possibly killed before reaching their target.
Wah.
They would also avoid trying to steal vehicles,
GTA,
such as the Humvee and
motherfucker.
troop crawler, if they were garrisoned with infantry. Hijackers were confident in taking out standard vehicle crews, but not if they had other infantry to support them. The hijacker could sometimes escape from a vehicle that had been destroyed, particularly if it was an American vehicle. If they were able to gain veterancy while using a previous vehicle, they could pass that experience on to the next one that they hijacked. The hijacker was the GLA specialist at infiltrating vehicles, but it was the saboteur who they called upon to infiltrate enemy
He's
bases.
from the expansion.
I have learned their ways.
The saboteur was trained in stealth and sabotage. He could move swiftly and was equipped with a rope and carabiner, which allowed him to climb cliffs. Once inside the base perimeter, the saboteur could enter any building to sabotage it. If entering a power plant, he would shut down the base's power for about 30 seconds. When entering a supply center, he would steal up to $1,000 in funds. If entering a production or strategic center, such as a barracks, tank factory, airfield, strategy center, or internet center, he would shut them down for 15 seconds to 30 seconds, depending on the type of structure. If he was able to infiltrate a superweapon building, such as the particle beam cannon or nuclear missile silo, he would reset the weapon's launch timer. A similar outcome would happen if the saboteur was able to infiltrate a command center. The enemy general would find that the timers for their support powers had been reset. Unfortunately for the saboteur, he was completely defenseless, so if he was spotted by the enemy, he had no way of defending himself. Sometimes the GLA needed a more direct and chaotic method of dealing with enemy forces in their area. For this, they would incite the local populace to riot, resulting in an enraged mob that would attack their enemies. An angry mob typically consists of 10 people. If any members of the mob are killed, they will slowly recruit new ones to replace them. Each mob member is armed with either a pistol, submachine gun, or Molotov cocktails. The local GLA general could arm the mob with more powerful AK-47 rifles.
AK-47s for everyone!
In addition, the rifles could make use of armor-piercing bullets bought from the black market.
Wow.
The angry mobs were highly effective at taking out most ground forces, including a tank if the mob concentrated its fire on one. When working together, 3 or 4 mobs could level an entire base, if proper defenses were not set up to stop them. Anti-infantry defenses such as China's Gatling turret, or American Rangers armed with flashbang grenades were best used to kill and disperse the mobs. Helicopters were also useful for dealing with mobs, as they wouldn't shoot at aircraft. The last soldier that the GLA would recruit and use for special operations was a man named Jarman Kale.
I don't care who they are. Business is business.
Jarman Kale was a highly skilled mercenary sniper. He only risked revealing his position whenever he would take a shot, shots that he practically never missed. The man was such a good marksman that he could kill the driver of any ground vehicle. Once the driver was taken out, other GLA soldiers could move in, finish off the rest of the crew.
There's a
and take the
theme of
vehicle for
stealing stuff
themselves.
with GLA.
Jarman Kale could also make use of the GLA combat cycle, outfitting it with dual sniper rifles, which he could use to deadly effect against infantry, and still allow him to snipe out the driver of a ground vehicle. Whenever a soldier, such as a rebel, garrisons a building, it doesn't take long for enemies to figure out which building that rebel is in. But Jarman Kale was skilled enough to remain completely hidden inside a building, with enemy forces having no clue of his location. This allowed him to cause heavy casualties on enemy infantry, especially in urban environments. Enemy generals would make use of stealth detecting countermeasures in an attempt to find and kill him. Both USA and PLA forces claim to have killed Jarman Kell on multiple occasions across the two major conflicts against the GLA. During Operation Nuclear Winter, Chinese forces reported that they had killed him in their assault on Dushanbe in Tajikistan, or Aldistan as it was known by the GLA. During Operation Black Gold, the USA reported that he had been killed in the Amisbad oil fields in Iran. At one point during the zero-hour conflict, the GLA were engaged in a temporary fight amongst themselves. One of these engagements, known as Hidden Agenda, involved an unknown GLA commander fighting against Prince Qassad. Qassad had hired Jarman Kell to protect his command center, and supposedly, the mercenary sniper was killed when the attacking GLA forces raided Qassad's base. The last report of Kell's death was during Operation Burning Skies, when the PLA tried to cut off retreating GLA forces around the town of Halberstadt in Germany. This was the last time that Jarman Kell was seen and reportedly killed, as the war would come to an end shortly afterward. However, up to this point, all previous claims of his death had been proven to be false, as he continued to show up on different battlefields throughout the war. So it would be no surprise if, again, this final report of his death was incorrect, and the man found a way to survive and make it out of the former GLA strongholds in Europe.
Sneaky bastard. Let's see the
GLA had a
vehicles.
variety of vehicles in their arsenal. While normally unable to stand up to the more powerful ones fielded by the PLA and USA, it would be a mistake to underestimate the lightly armored but fast-moving vehicles of the GLA. Some of their vehicles also had the unique ability to salvage parts from other wrecks in order to upgrade their own. The first and probably the most widely used vehicle in the GLA arsenal was the Technical.
Bolted down and ready.
The Technical
I don't
was
like the
basically a
Tactical.
pickup truck, outfitted with a heavy machine gun on the back. It could move fast and cover a great distance in a short amount of time. It also acted as an impromptu transport that could carry up to 5 GLA soldiers. The soldiers were unable to fire their weapons from it, but they could bail out of the vehicle if it was destroyed. The machine gun on the back could be used to take out infantry and other light vehicles. The weapon also made use of armor-piercing bullets from the black market. Some GLA generals opted to give their technical crews extra training on how to properly operate and use the vehicle, making them a bit more effective during engagements. The Technicals could upgrade their primary weapon by salvaging the wrecks of other vehicles. The vehicle crew would use the salvage to make a grenade launcher to replace the machine gun. This launcher was more effective at destroying light vehicles and infantry, especially with the small amount of splash damage it caused. From here, more salvage could be used to upgrade the grenade launcher to a rocket launcher, which is more effective against vehicles, including tanks. While the Technical made for a decent scout, there was a more effective and versatile vehicle the GLA could use for that role, the Combat Cycle.
Cliffs, let's do it.
The Combat Cycle was a dirt bike that could travel extremely fast and even scale cliffs. Its speed and maneuverability also made it great for hit-and-run tactics. By default, a Rebel drives the cycle, which allows the vehicle to be equipped with dual machine guns on the front of it. However, other infantry types could take over the driver's seat. An RPG trooper equips the cycle with a rocket pod on the right side, making it somewhat effective against vehicles. A terrorist arms the cycle with a demolition pack, which is effective against vehicles or structures. As previously mentioned, Jarman Kell himself could make use of the cycle and equip it with dual sniper rifles, which were deadly against infantry and still allowed him to take out vehicle crews. Workers, saboteurs, and hijackers could also operate the combat cycle, but they don't provide it with any mountable weapons, opting instead to use it to get somewhere fast. At any point, an infantryman could dismount the cycle, in which it would fall apart shortly afterward. While the combat cycle was quite versatile in its armament, depending on the rider, the vehicle itself had little to no armor, and could be easily destroyed by most enemy units or base defenses. The cycle was also incapable of shooting at aircraft. That role was left to the only dedicated anti-aircraft vehicle in the GLA arsenal, called the quad cannon.
I'll puncture the next thing that moves.
Acquired through the arms dealer, these Soviet-era weapons can protect GLA units from airborne attack. Equipped with 4 heavy machine guns, the quad cannon can target both air and ground units. By Soviet era, I think they are referring specifically to the actual gun, and not the entire vehicle. The vehicle itself is just a half-track with a flatbed, but on top of the flatbed were 4 23mm autocannons, which were originally equipped on the ZSU-23-4 Shilka. The vehicles were relatively cheap for an arms dealer to build, and they could easily mow down infantry and take out aircraft, especially helicopters. With armor-piercing bullets, they could even do a fair amount of damage to some ground vehicles. It had a decent amount of armor for a light vehicle, but was not as fast as others like the Technical or Buggy. The vehicle could upgrade its cannons by salvaging parts found on the battlefield. This salvage could be used to increase the cannon's rate of fire, allowing them to put more rounds down range. The quad cannon wasn't as effective against infantry that were garrisoned in a building. For clearing infantry from buildings, the GLA used a deadly vehicle called the Toxin Tractor.
Ah, intoxicating.
From several onboard tanks, the Toxin Tractor releases a vicious poison that can contaminate the ground for a period of time, inducing illness and even death in infantry that touch it. When parked, the tractor can continuously contaminate the area, creating an effective defense against enemy personnel. The vehicle itself was basically just a civilian tractor that was outfitted with armored plates, and tanks which held the toxin. The toxin used by the tractor was a highly lethal form of anthrax, which is what made it so deadly to infantry. The toxin was so corrosive that it could even damage light vehicles, but was less effective against heavier armored ones. The toxin could be improved to become even deadlier, with a new strain called Anthrax Beta, recognizable due to its blue color.
Yeah, you said that again.
Like other GLA vehicles, the driver of the tractor could make use of salvage in order to upgrade it. This involved increasing the size of the tractor's gun, and adding 2 more smaller gun barrels on each side of the main one. This increased the amount of toxin the tractor could spray at its enemies. The downside to the tractor was that it was very slow, and vulnerable to aircraft. It also had little effect on heavy armored vehicles like tanks.
Yep.
Additionally, it was ineffective against enemy base structures, unlike another light vehicle that could destroy them from long range using its rockets. This vehicle was the rocket buggy.
Roads? How boring!
This vehicle acted as the primary mobile artillery for the GLA. It was fast and agile, quicker than other mobile artillery systems, such as the USA's Tomahawk launcher and PLA's Inferno tank. Still, like other vehicles in the GLA arsenal, it was lightly armored and vulnerable to aircraft. By default, the buggy was armed with 3 rocket pods on the back of it. Each pod carried 6 rockets, giving the vehicle a total of 18. While each individual rocket caused low damage, an entire volley of them could be devastating, especially to light or heavy armored vehicles. The rockets were also effective at destroying bases, as they could typically outrange most defensive structures. It took a while for the buggy to reload though, which made it vulnerable to retaliatory strikes. The buggy could cause more damage if it was equipped with armor-piercing rockets, even more so if a GLA commander purchased more buggy ammo from a black market. This replaced the 3 default cylindrical-shaped pods with 5 square-shaped ones. Each pod still held 6 rockets, but the total number the buggy carried was now 30, instead of the previous 18. This also meant an increase in the number of rockets it would launch in a single volley. Before a rocket buggy could attack and destroy an enemy base, it first needed to know its location, or at least have an idea of where to search. While the GLA did not have access to advanced radar systems like the USA or PLA, they were able to acquire older, but still useful equipment. Equipment that they kept in a vehicle aptly called the radar van.
Let us tune in.
Yep.
The radar van could detect and keep an eye on enemy unit movements. The fact that the radar was kept in a mobile vehicle meant that if the local GLA general lost their command center, they could still keep track of hostile forces on the battlefield. Improved radar equipment could be purchased from a black market. This would allow the van to periodically conduct a radar scan of a specified location. This scan would be used to locate enemy bases or other military assets. It could even detect stealth units, such as the USA sentry drones. The van itself was completely unarmed.
Yep.
Although it could take shelter inside a tunnel network, it would lose its reception while underground. Once a radar van had detected hostile forces, the GLA could send out their own forces to confront them. When it came to armored vehicles, the primary tank in their arsenal was the Scorpion tank.
Scorpion, ready to sting!
These light and ancient tanks are a vital leg of the GLA hit-and-run attack strategy. Fast and lightly armored, the Scorpion is a poor match against heavy weapons. It's interesting how the Scorpion tanks are described as ancient. This is probably because they do sort of resemble a World War II Italian tank called the P-26-40. How the GLA acquired such tanks, which would have to be rare, is unknown. Some old World War II tanks, such as the American M4 Sherman or German Panzer IVs, found their way to the Middle East years after the war. So perhaps that is how the GLA came to acquire some P-26s, and then built their own modified versions of the tank based on the originals, which resulted in the Scorpion tank. While the Scorpions were outmatched by the standard tanks of the USA and PLA, they were cheap to construct, and could be equipped with additional upgrades. Scorpion rockets could be purchased from an arms dealer and outfitted on the tank's turret. These rockets were effective against ground targets, and gave the Scorpion a much-needed boost in firepower. AP versions of the rockets could be purchased at a black market. The tanks could also be equipped with toxin shells that were developed at a palace. These shells made the Scorpions more lethal against infantry. The toxin inside the shells could even be upgraded to Anthrax Beta. Like other GLA vehicles, the Scorpion tank crews could use salvage to further upgrade it. This salvage would typically be used to improve the vehicle's main gun, and add a second Scorpion rocket to its turret. These upgrades would put the tank's lethality on par with that of the PLA's Battlemaster and the USA's Crusader tanks. Some GLA generals would field a medium tank that could go toe-to-toe with those of the USA and PLA. This was the Marauder tank.
What can I say? I'm a taker.
The Marauder tank seems to be a specially made vehicle offered by certain arms
A
dealers.
heavy tank.
It was
yeah.
slower, but more well armed and armored compared to the Scorpion. One thing to note about the Marauder was that it could not rotate its turret. The entire vehicle had to turn in order to face the direction it wanted to fire. Just like the Scorpion tank, the Marauder could make use of toxin shells that could be upgraded with Anthrax Beta. Additionally, Marauder crews would use salvage to improve their tank. Some of it was used to improve the vehicle's main gun, increasing its rate of fire. Additional salvage allowed the crews to equip the vehicle with twin cannons, further increasing its firepower and reload speed. The twin cannons also meant the tank had a larger turret to accommodate them. When fully upgraded with salvage and a veteran crew, the Marauder was a formidable tank on the battlefield. But for those GLA generals who wanted a vehicle with more explosive firepower, they would use the bomb truck.
GLA Postal Service.
The postal
The bomb
service.
truck was basically
Or
a more
GLA.
powerful, vehicularized version of the Terrorist, one that was highly effective against structures or groups of units. It was a dump truck that had extra armor plating attached to it, which made it difficult to destroy when compared to a car bomb or terrorist-driven combat cycle. The driver of the truck was just as fanatical as the terrorist. By default, the back of the truck was loaded with a variety of improvised explosives, but they could be equipped with a more powerful high-explosive bomb.
Or
The yield of
mixed
such a
up.
bomb was double that of the entire default loadout. Instead of a high-explosive bomb, the truck could be loaded with a bio-bomb. When it explodes, it leaves behind a toxic cloud of anthrax, which of course is quite lethal against infantry. As with other bioweapons, the toxin in the bio-bomb could be upgraded to carry the more lethal Anthrax Beta. The truck could be loaded with both a bio and high-explosive bomb, making it as deadly as it can be. Normally,
no
such a
setback.
truck is easy to identify and destroy before it reaches its target destination, but the GLA would disguise these trucks to look like other vehicles. It could be disguised as a civilian vehicle, but it could also be disguised to look like other vehicles used by the USA and PLA.
That's an easy disguise.
Right.
The other two factions had methods to uncover the disguised truck, but by then it might be too late to stop it. GLA generals that wanted a weapon system that could destroy units and base buildings from afar, but that also carried a high explosive warhead, would acquire a Scud launcher. Another Soviet weapon system from the Cold War, the MAZ-543 carries a large Scud ballistic missile on top of it. The vehicle was extremely slow and lightly armored. If it was able to get set up into position, it would launch its missile straight into the air. Once launched, its trajectory can't be altered. A few seconds later, the missile will come down on the designated target, doing a great deal of damage. The missile itself can be equipped with one of two different warheads. By default, it has a high explosive warhead that is highly effective against structures.
Yep.
The second warhead type is an anthrax warhead that spreads toxin around the impact site, making it more effective against infantry. The GLA can use salvage to upgrade the Scud missile to improve both its range and explosive power. The last ground vehicle in the GLA arsenal was a troop transport called the Battle Bus.
Hey, be careful with the upholstery.
As its name implies, the Battle Bus is just a large civilian van or bus that has been retrofitted for battle. The armament consists of up to 8 troops, usually rebels or RPG troopers, that ride in it and fire their weapons out the windows at hostile targets.
Yep.
This makes the bus a fast and lethal vehicle for hit-and-run attacks. With salvage, the GLA can make the bus more durable, and even add a metal ram on the front of it, making it more effective at running over infantry. What separated the bus from other transport vehicles was that even if the engine or wheels were taken out, the whole of the vehicle could still be used as a bunker, allowing the troops inside to continue firing their weapons. If the immobile wreck was destroyed though, then all the infantry left inside died with it. If the hull managed to survive an attack, it was not worth repairing back to a drivable state due to the heavy damage, so it was sometimes best for surviving troops to just abandon it once the hostiles surrounding the wreck had been cleared. While the GLA did not have a navy, they did make use of small patrol boats to transport their infantry along the coasts, or infiltrate harbors that were controlled by hostile forces. The boat was only armed with a machine gun, which was crewed by a rebel. Notable uses of the boat were during the Hong Kong crisis, where a GLA patrol boat was spotted moving away from the Singma Bridge. The GLA troops on the boat were responsible for planting explosives on the bridge and destroying it while PLA forces attempted to cross it. In addition, the GLA used the patrol boat to bring Jarman Kell and a group of thieves to a US base somewhere along the coast of California, a base they successfully infiltrated and stole a supply of biological weapons from. The small force then made their escape by stealing a C-130 cargo plane. The GLA didn't have much of an air force either, and what they did have consisted of one kind of plane. We don't know exactly what type of plane it was, however, some believe the design was similar to the Soviet Tupolev Tu-4. In any event, the plane could be used to either paradrop reinforcements at a reinforcement pad, or drop an anthrax bomb on an enemy base. As mentioned, high-ranking GLA generals could use the plane to drop an anthrax bomb. By default, the bomb was armed with anthrax beta. The bomb would explode right before hitting the ground, and the toxin would spread over a wide area, killing all infantry caught in its radius. The toxin was so corrosive and deadly that it could even kill crews inside of vehicles, if not the entire vehicle itself. The toxin would eventually dissipate, but not before having killed practically all living humans in the affected area. Depending on the rank of the GLA generals, they could request special units and other support call-ins from outside their area of operations. I've already talked about some of these, like the Rebel Ambush, Sneak Attack, Marauder Tank, and Anthrax Bomb. A 3-star GLA general could request emergency repairs. This support power would dispatch crews out to vehicles anywhere on the battlefield to provide them with fast and immediate repairs, even during the heat of the battle.
Every faction has this ability.
The repair crews had 3 levels based on experience and rank. These levels dictated how much repair work the crew could perform on the GLA vehicles. 5-star generals could gain access to a special piece of equipment called the GPS Scrambler. The Scrambler would, well, scramble enemy radar and spy satellites, allowing the GLA to hide a group of their forces. This meant that they were essentially stealthed and would remain hidden until opening fire on an enemy. However, their hidden forces could be located by stealth-detecting units or buildings. Originally, this technology was solely owned by Prince Qassad. Qassad kept the technology for himself, refusing to share it with the rest of the GLA. The GLA later sent one of their generals to attack Qassad, successfully retrieving the technology and allowing the entire faction to reap the benefits of its use. 3-star generals had the option to receive a cash bounty on any enemy units they destroyed, whether they be infantry, vehicles, or buildings. The general received a percentage of the cost of the destroyed unit. There were 3 levels to this bounty, with level 1 being worth 5% the cost of the destroyed unit, level 2 worth 10%, and level 3 worth 20%. There you have it, General. A detailed overview of the Global Liberation Army. More information on the GLA's famous generals, Dr. Thrax, Prince Qassad, and Radal Jazi, will be provided to you in the future, including information regarding the unique capabilities and arsenals that they brought to the faction. While the Global Liberation Army may no longer be around, their war against the USA and China caused both nations to join forces in order to defeat them. While the combined might of these nations ultimately prevailed in the end, the GLA still proved themselves to be one of the most formidable and feared organizations of the 21st century.
Surprise, motherfucker. We just saw this. And he died. And there you have it, the GLA, the Global Liberation Army. It's a really interesting faction to play in the game. It's a really odd way to operate. Basically, hit fast, guerrilla stealth, and stealing is the way they operate. They have that passive ability that allows them to steal technology from carcasses of vehicles, which is extremely cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And this stream is going to end here an hour earlier than usual. So yeah, I don't know what's going to be the next stream for next week. I'm so focused on doing the video that I'm not really sure what I want to do about the streams actually. I think I'm not going to make a Command & Conquer so soon. But yeah, if you enjoyed the stream, leave a like. See you all next week. And yeah, goodbye. Haha.